The birthday invitation sat on our kitchen counter like a loaded weapon, pink cardstock with gold lettering, the kind of fancy nonsense Marta loved to waste money on. But it wasn't the gaudy design that made my stomach twist into knots. It was the handwritten note at the bottom. Ryan confirmed as special guest. Can't wait. M. Ryan, her boss. The same Ryan who'd been finding excuses to text her at 9 p.m. about urgent projects and strategy sessions that somehow required weekend meetings at his downtown penthouse office. I stood there in my work clothes, khakis and a polo shirt with Datatech Solutions embroidered on the chest, feeling like an intruder in my own home. The granite countertops gleamed under the pendant lights, everything perfectly arranged as always. Marta's world, Marta's rules. "You're home early," she said, clicking into the kitchen on her designer heels. Even after 12 hours at the advertising agency, she looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Meanwhile, I probably smelled like server rooms and disappointment. Traffic was light. I picked up the invitation. "So Ryan's coming to your birthday party?" Her smile faltered for just a second. "He's my boss, David. It's professional courtesy." Professional courtesy. I let the words hang in the air. Is that what we're calling it now? What's that supposed to mean? I could have said a lot of things. I could have mentioned the late-night texts I'd glimpsed when her phone lit up during dinner, the sudden need for new lingerie that never seemed to make an appearance in our bedroom, the way she'd started pronouncing his name with just a little too much warmth. Instead, I set the invitation down carefully. Nothing. Just seems like a lot of work colleagues for a family birthday party. It's not just colleagues. Emma's coming home from college. Your sister Claire will be there. Jay and Linda. And your boss. And my boss. She turned away, busying herself with rearranging flowers that were already perfectly arranged. "I don't understand why you're making such a big deal about this." Because I wasn't stupid, that's why. Because I'd been married to her for 20 years, and I knew the difference between professional courtesy and whatever this was becoming. But Marta had always been better with words than me. She could twist a conversation until I was the one apologizing for bringing up my concerns. "Look," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "If you invite him to your birthday party, I'm out. I won't be there." She laughed, actually laughed. "Don't be ridiculous, David. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" "Yes, you are." She kissed my cheek, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume. "I'm going to change clothes. Order Chinese for dinner, would you? The usual place." I watched her walk away, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors like a countdown timer. The invitation remained on the counter, mocking me with its cheerful pink optimism. That night, after she'd gone to sleep, I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. We'd shared an iCloud account for years, one of those married couple conveniences that nobody thinks about until they need it. Her messages synced to the iPad we kept in the kitchen for recipes and grocery lists. I told myself I was just being thorough. Due diligence. The same methodical approach I used when troubleshooting network problems at work. The truth was so much worse than I'd imagined. 3 months of messages, not just professional courtesy, but inside jokes and compliments, and the kind of casual intimacy that should have been reserved for her husband. Thinking about our conversation today. And, "You looked beautiful in that blue dress." And, "Can't wait for our next strategy session." Her responses were even worse. Flirty, engaged, excited in a way she hadn't been with me in years. The most recent exchange was from that afternoon. Ryan. "Looking forward to Saturday. Should I bring anything special?" Marta. "Just yourself. David's being weird about you coming, but he'll get over it. He always does." Ryan. "Poor guy. He has no idea what's coming." Marta. "He never sees anything coming. That's his problem." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I read that last message 3 times. each word hitting me like a physical blow. 20 years of marriage, and this was what she really thought of me. The oblivious husband who never saw anything coming. I set the iPad down with shaking hands. The house felt different now, like the foundation had shifted while I wasn't paying attention. Everything looked the same. The family photos on the walls, the furniture we'd picked out together, the life we'd built. But it was all hollow now. A stage set for a play I didn't know I was performing in. But Marta was wrong about one thing. I did see this coming. Maybe not the details, but I'd felt the distance growing between us for months. The late nights at work, the sudden interest in her appearance, the way she'd started treating our marriage like a chore to be managed rather than a partnership to be cherished. I'd just been hoping I was wrong. Now I knew better, and now I had a choice to make. I could confront her directly, demand explanations and apologies and promises that things would change. We could go to counseling, work through our problems like mature adults, or I could do something else entirely. I looked at the birthday invitation again, still sitting on the counter where she'd left it. Pink cardstock with gold lettering, announcing a celebration that was really a betrayal. "He never sees anything coming," she'd said. Well, Marta was about to learn just how wrong she could be. The next morning, Marta left for work humming. Actually humming, like she didn't have a care in the world, like she hadn't spent the previous evening exchanging flirtatious messages with her boss while her husband ordered Chinese food and pretended everything was normal. I waited until her car disappeared around the corner before I called in sick to work. 20 years at Data Tech Solutions had earned me enough goodwill for the occasional mental health day, though I doubted my boss would approve if he knew how I planned to spend it. First stop, Jay's auto shop. Jay Kowalski had been my best friend since high school, back when we were both skinny kids with big dreams and bigger mouths. He'd gone into the Marines after graduation, did 2 tours overseas, then came home and opened a garage specializing in classic car restoration. I'd gone to college, learned about computers and networks and the digital infrastructure that kept the modern world running. Different paths, but we'd stayed close. He was the kind of friend you could call at 3 a.m, no questions asked. The kind who'd help you move a body if you needed it, though I hoped it wouldn't come to that. "You look terrible," he said when I walked into his shop. Jay was under the hood of a 1967 Mustang, his hands black with grease, his Marine Corps tattoo visible on his forearm. "What's wrong?" "Marta's having an affair." He straightened up slowly, wiping his hands on a rag. "You sure?" "I'm sure." "Evidence?" "Text messages, months of them." Jay nodded grimly. "What do you want to do about it?" That was Jay for you. No lectures about working things out or giving her the benefit of the doubt. Just straight to the point. What's the plan? "She's throwing herself a birthday party this Saturday. Invited him as the special guest." Classy. I warned her not to do it. She laughed at me. Even classier. Jay tossed the rag aside. "So what's the play?" I'd been thinking about that all morning. The direct approach, confrontation, arguments, ultimatums, would just give her a chance to lie and manipulate and turn the whole thing around on me. Marta was good at that. She could make me feel guilty for catching her in the wrong, but I had advantages she didn't know about. 20 years in IT had taught me a few things about technology and information warfare, and Jay's military background meant he understood strategy and timing. "I want to record the party," I said. "Get her on tape admitting what's been going on." "Hidden cameras?" "Something like that." I pulled out my phone and showed him an app I'd downloaded that morning. "Voice-activated recording. I can hide my phone somewhere in the room, let it capture everything." Jay studied the screen. "That's not bad. But what if nothing happens? What if they're smart enough to keep it professional in public?" I'd thought about that too. "Then I'll make something happen." "How?" "I'm working on it." The truth was, I had the beginnings of a plan, but it was still rough around the edges. The recording was just the first step. What I really wanted was to expose them both, publicly and permanently. Let everyone see what kind of people they really were. You know, Jay said, there are simpler ways to handle this. Divorce lawyers, private investigators. That's not enough. What do you mean? I thought about Marta's message from the night before. He never sees anything coming. That's his problem. The casual contempt in those words, the certainty that I was too stupid or too weak to fight back. I mean, it's not enough to just end the marriage. I want them to pay for what they've done. I want consequences. Jay was quiet for a long moment. You sure about this, David? Once you go down this road, there's no going back. I'm sure. He nodded slowly. Okay. What do you need from me? That afternoon, I drove to the electronics store and bought a small digital recorder, the kind private investigators used in movies. It was more reliable than the phone app and had better battery life. Then I stopped at the office supply store and picked up some double-sided tape and a few other supplies. By the time Marta came home that evening, I had everything hidden in my workshop in the garage. She found me there, tinkering with an old laptop. Feeling better? She asked. You looked a little under the weather this morning. Much better, thanks. Good. She leaned against the door frame, still in her work clothes. I confirmed the final head count for Saturday, 23 people. Including Ryan. Her voice had that edge it got when she thought I was being unreasonable. David, I need you to promise me you won't make a scene. What kind of scene would I make? I don't know. You've been acting strange lately, suspicious. It's not attractive. Not attractive, like my feelings about my wife's affair were a fashion choice she disapproved of. I promise I won't make a scene, I said. It wasn't technically a lie. I wasn't planning to make a scene. I was planning to let her make one for me. Thank you. She smiled, the same smile that had made me fall in love with her 20 years ago. I know this is important to me, and I appreciate you being supportive. After she left, I sat in the garage for a long time, staring at the laptop screen without really seeing it. Part of me wanted to call the whole thing off. Walk upstairs, tell her what I'd found, give her a chance to explain or apologize or at least show some remorse. But I kept thinking about those messages, the casual cruelty of them, the way she and Ryan had talked about me like I was some kind of joke, an obstacle to be managed rather than a person with feelings. No. I'd given her 20 years of my life, and this was how she chose to repay me. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I was better at them than she thought. Saturday couldn't come soon enough. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzling, which felt appropriate. Marta had been up since 6, bustling around the house in her silk robe, checking and rechecking every detail. The catering would arrive at noon. The flowers had been delivered the night before. The sound system was tested and ready. You're going to love the playlist, she said, adjusting the volume on the smart speakers we'd installed throughout the house. I spent hours putting it together. Those same speakers that would soon broadcast something very different than top 40 hits. I'd spent the early morning in the garage making final preparations. The digital recorder was small enough to hide behind the picture frame on the mantelpiece, positioned to capture conversations in the main living area. I'd tested it 3 times to make sure the audio quality was clear. The real innovation was the phone app I'd discovered. It could hijack our home's smart speaker system remotely, overriding whatever music was playing to broadcast audio from my device. All I needed was the right moment and the right recording. David, Marta's voice carried from the kitchen. Can you help me move this table? I found her struggling with the dining room furniture, trying to create more space for the party. She'd changed into jeans and a college sweatshirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger like this, more like the woman I'd married. For a moment, I almost wavered, almost called the whole thing off. Then my phone buzzed with a text message. From her phone, which was still synced to our shared account. Ryan. Can't wait for tonight. Wear the red dress. Marta. Already picked out. David won't know what hit him. Ryan. Poor bastard. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and helped her move the table. The first guests arrived at 2 o'clock. My sister Claire came early, as always, carrying a bottle of wine and wearing the skeptical expression she'd perfected over 40 years of life. "You look terrible," she said, kissing my cheek. "Thanks. You look great, too." "I'm serious, David. Are you okay?" Claire had always been able to read me better than anyone else. Growing up, she'd been the one who knew when I was lying about homework or sneaking out after curfew. Now, she was a paralegal at a downtown law firm, trained to spot deception and inconsistency. "Just tired," I said. "Tired or stressed?" "Both." She studied my face for a long moment. "Does this have anything to do with Marta's boss coming to a family birthday party?" I should have known Claire would see the problem immediately. She'd never liked Marta much, thought she was pretentious and self-centered. For 20 years, I'd defended my wife against Claire's subtle criticisms. Now I wondered if my sister had been right all along. "Maybe," I admitted. "Want to talk about it?" "Not yet." "Okay, but David, if you need anything at all, you call me. Understood?" I nodded, grateful for the support I didn't know I'd needed. The other guests trickled in over the next hour. Jay and his wife Linda brought beer and loud voices. Emma arrived from college with her laundry bag and her boyfriend, a earnest kid named Trevor who called me sir and shook my hand too firmly. Neighbors, co-workers, old friends, the usual cast of characters for a suburban birthday party. Ryan arrived at 4:30. I was in the kitchen when I heard Marta's voice rise above the general chatter. "Everyone, I want you to meet my boss, Ryan Mitchell. Ryan, this is everyone." Polite laughter. The sound of introductions and small talk. I took a deep breath and walked into the living room. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 45, with the kind of artificial tan that came from expensive salons. His handshake was firm, his smile practiced, his suit probably worth more than I made in a month. "David, right?" he said. "Marta talks about you all the time." "I'm sure she does. She tells me you're in IT. That must be interesting work." "It has its moments." We made small talk for a few minutes, the weather, the local sports teams, the usual topics that men discuss when they're sizing each other up. He was smooth, I'll give him that. Confident without being obvious about it. The kind of guy who was used to getting what he wanted. But there was something in his eyes when he looked at Marta. A possessiveness that made my jaw clench. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to check on the drinks." I retreated to the kitchen, where Claire was opening wine. "That's him?" she asked quietly. "That's him. He's exactly what I expected." What's that supposed to mean? Slick, entitled, the kind of guy who thinks rules don't apply to him. She poured herself a glass of wine. "What are you going to do about it?" Before I could answer, Marta appeared in the doorway. "David, can you start the music? I want to get people dancing." "Of course." I pulled out my phone and connected to the speaker system. For now, I played her carefully curated playlist. But I had something else queued up and ready to go. Something that would change the entire tone of the party. I just needed to wait for the right moment. That moment came an hour later, when Marta gathered everyone in the living room for the traditional birthday toast. She stood in the center of the group, radiant in the red dress Ryan had requested, holding a glass of champagne. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she said. "This has been such a wonderful year for me. New challenges at work, new opportunities, new friendships." Her eyes found Ryan in the crowd. "I feel like I'm finally becoming the person I was meant to be." The person she was meant to be. Not the wife she'd been for 20 years, apparently. "So here's to another year of growth and discovery," she continued, raising her glass, "and to all the people who make life worth living." Everyone raised their glasses. Everyone smiled and applauded. Everyone except me. I pulled out my phone and opened the app that controlled our smart speakers. Actually, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, before we toast, I have a little surprise for the birthday girl. Marta's smile faltered slightly. David, what are you? I tapped the screen. The music stopped abruptly, replaced by the sound of Marta's voice coming through every speaker in the house. He never sees anything coming. That's his problem. The room went silent. 23 people frozen in place, champagne glasses halfway to their lips. Ryan's voice followed. Poor guy. He has no idea what's coming. Marta's face had gone pale. David, stop! But I wasn't stopping. 3 months of messages played out for everyone to hear. Flirtations and compliments and plans for private meetings. The slow dissolution of my marriage, broadcast in high-definition audio. You looked beautiful in that blue dress. Can't wait for our next strategy session? David's being weird about you coming, but he'll get over it. He always does. The silence in the room was deafening. I could see the shock on people's faces, the awkward glances, the sudden understanding of what they were witnessing. Marta lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. That's enough, she said, her voice shaking. Everyone, I can explain. Please do, I said. I think we'd all love to hear your explanation. But she couldn't explain. How do you explain 3 months of betrayal to a room full of friends and family? How do you justify the casual cruelty of those messages? Ryan had gone from tan to ashen. David, this is between you and Marta, is it? I looked around the room, because it seems like you've made it everyone's business, coming to family parties, inserting yourself into my marriage. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The recording was still playing. More messages, more evidence, more humiliation. I watched as our guests began to understand the full scope of what had been happening. Some looked angry, some looked embarrassed, some looked like they wanted to disappear. Emma was crying. My daughter was crying because her mother had been caught cheating at her own birthday party. That's when I finally turned off the recording. Happy birthday, Marta, I said. I hope it was everything you wanted. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Then people started moving, gathering their coats, making excuses, heading for the door. The party was over. Marta stood in the center of the emptying room, still holding her champagne glass, tears streaming down her face. David, she whispered, how could you do this to me? I almost laughed. After everything she'd done, everything I'd discovered, she was asking how I could embarrass her in front of our friends. The same way you could do what you did to me, I said. The only difference is, I made sure everyone could see it. Ryan was already gone, disappeared into the night like the coward he was. Most of the other guests had followed. Only Claire and Jay remained, standing by the door like bodyguards. This isn't over, Marta said. Yes, I replied. It is. But I was wrong about that. It was just beginning. Sunday morning brought the kind of silence that only comes after a disaster. Marta had locked herself in our bedroom the night before, and I'd slept on the couch in my office. When I woke up, the house felt like a crime scene, evidence of the party scattered everywhere, but none of the joy that should have accompanied a celebration. I was drinking coffee in the kitchen when my phone started buzzing. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails. Word was spreading fast. The first call was from Emma, still at her dorm. Dad, what the heck happened last night? Trevor said Mom was crying when we left and people are posting weird stuff on social media. Social media. I hadn't thought about that. Of course people would talk. A suburban marriage exploding at a birthday party was exactly the kind of drama that spread through Facebook like wildfire. Your mother and I are having some problems, I said. Problems? Dad, Trevor said you played recordings of her cheating or something. Is that true? I closed my eyes. Yes. Oh my God. Emma's voice was small, shocked. Dad, how could you do that in front of everyone? How could she do what she did to our family? I don't know, but publicly humiliating her? That's not like you. She was right. The old David would never have done something so calculated, so cruel. The old David would have handled this privately, quietly, with dignity and discretion. But the old David was gone. Marta had made sure of that. "I'm sorry you had to see it," I said, "but I'm not sorry I did it." The second call was from Jay. "How you holding up?" he asked. "I've been better. Marta left about an hour ago, suitcase and everything." I looked out the window. Her car was gone from the driveway. "Where'd she go?" "Don't know. But Linda saw her loading up the BMW around 7 this morning." Part of me felt relieved. Part of me felt hollow. 20 years of marriage, and it ended with her sneaking out at dawn like a teenager running away from home. "You did the right thing," Jay continued. "Maybe not the easy thing, but the right thing." "Did I? Emma thinks I'm a monster. Emma's 20 years old. She'll understand when she's older." "Maybe. Or maybe my daughter would never forgive me for destroying her family in front of a room full of witnesses." The third call was from Claire. "I've been thinking about this all night," she said without preamble. "You need a lawyer." "I know. I mean now, David. Today. Marta's going to come back swinging, and you need to be prepared. What can she do? Everyone heard the recordings. She can claim you violated her privacy. She can say you were abusive, controlling. She can make you look like the villain in all this." I hadn't thought about that either. In my focus on exposing her betrayal, I'd forgotten that Marta was a professional manipulator. She made her living crafting narratives, shaping public opinion, controlling how people perceived reality. "Do you have a recommendation?" I asked. "Sandra Martinez. She's tough, smart, and she doesn't take garbage from cheating spouses. I'll call her office this morning." After Claire hung up, I sat in the empty house and tried to process what had happened. 24 hours ago, I'd been planning revenge. Now I was planning for war. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. "David? This is Tina Rodriguez from Marta's office." Tina. Marta's best friend at work, the one who'd been covering for her affair. I'd seen her at the party, standing near the back of the room when the recordings played, her face a mask of shock and embarrassment. "What can I do for you, Tina?" "I think we need to talk." "About what?" "About what happened last night. About Marta and Ryan. About things you don't know." That got my attention. "What things?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere?" An hour later, I was sitting across from Tina Rodriguez in a coffee shop downtown, trying to read the expression on her face. She looked tired, stressed, like someone who'd spent the night wrestling with a difficult decision. "I want you to know," she said, stirring her latte. "I never approved of what Marta was doing. But you knew about it. I suspected. The late meetings, the new clothes, the way she talked about Ryan. But I didn't know for sure until last night. Those recordings were just the tip of the iceberg, weren't they?" Tina nodded. "David, there are things about your wife that you need to know. Things that go back months, maybe longer." She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Copies of expense reports, travel vouchers, hotel receipts." She slid the envelope across the table. "Ryan's been taking Marta on business trips that weren't exactly business." I opened the envelope and scanned the documents. Chicago, Atlanta, Denver. Weekend conferences that required only one attendee, but somehow justified 2 hotel rooms, rooms that, according to the receipts, were adjoining. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I'm tired of being complicit in her lies. Because what she did to you was wrong, and because—" She hesitated. "Because Ryan's married too." That hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "His wife lives in California. They're separated, but not divorced. She doesn't know about any of this." So it wasn't just my marriage that had been destroyed. Ryan was betraying his own wife too, and Marta knew it. "There's more," Tina continued. "The company has a strict policy about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. If HR finds out about this, they'll both be fired." Have you told HR? Not yet, but after last night. She shrugged. It's only a matter of time before someone does. I stared at the documents in front of me. Evidence of a pattern of deception that went far beyond flirtatious text messages. This was systematic, calculated betrayal on multiple levels. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because Marta's been using me as her cover story for months, telling you she was having dinner with me when she was really with Ryan, making me lie for her. Tina's voice hardened. I don't like being used. After she left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour, studying the papers she'd given me. The scope of the deception was staggering. Not just an emotional affair, but a full-blown relationship complete with romantic getaways and corporate fraud. My phone buzzed with another text message. This one was from Marta. We need to talk. Meet me at the house at 6 p.m. Come alone. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, let the lawyers handle everything from here. But part of me needed to hear what she had to say for herself. At 6 o'clock, I pulled into my own driveway, feeling like a stranger. Marta's car was already there, parked in her usual spot, as if nothing had changed. I found her in the living room, sitting on the couch where we'd watched 1,000 movies together. She'd changed out of the red dress into jeans and a sweater, and without makeup, she looked older, more fragile. Thank you for coming, she said. What do you want, Marta? I want to explain. There's nothing to explain. I heard the recordings. I saw the receipts. Her eyes widened slightly. What receipts? Chicago? Atlanta? Denver? Should I go on? She closed her eyes. David, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair for months, maybe longer. It's complicated. No, it's not. It's simple. You made a choice. You chose him over me, over our marriage, over our family. Tears started streaming down her face. I never meant for it to happen. But you didn't stop it either. I was confused, unhappy. Ryan made me feel alive again. And I didn't? She was quiet for a long moment. Not for a long time. The honesty of it hit harder than any lie would have. At least she wasn't pretending our marriage had been perfect. So what now? I asked. I don't know. I've been staying at my sister's, trying to figure out what to do next. Have you talked to Ryan? Her face darkened. He won't return my calls. Of course he wouldn't. Now that the affair was public knowledge, Ryan was protecting himself. Marta was just collateral damage in his damage control strategy. I'm filing for divorce, I said. David, please, can't we try to work this out? Work what out? The affair? The lies? The way you talked about me like I was some kind of joke? I was angry when I wrote those things. I didn't mean them. You meant them enough to send them. We sat in silence for several minutes, 20 years of marriage dissolving in the space between us. What about Emma? Marta finally asked. What about her? She's furious with you. She thinks what you did last night was cruel and vindictive. She'll get over it. Will she? David, you humiliated me in front of our daughter, in front of everyone we know. How is she supposed to respect either of us after that? It was a fair question, and one I didn't have a good answer for. In my focus on revenge, I hadn't fully considered the collateral damage to our daughter. You should have thought about that before you started the affair, I said, and you should have thought about it before you decided to destroy me publicly. We were both right, and we were both wrong. The marriage was over, had probably been over for months, but the way it ended, the public humiliation, the betrayal, the cruelty on both sides, that was something we'd both have to live with. I'll be staying at Jay's for a while, I said, standing up. My lawyer will be in touch. David, wait. I stopped at the door. I'm sorry, she said. For all of it. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know. I looked back at her, sitting alone in our living room, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago. Young, hopeful, full of dreams about the future we'd build together. But that woman was gone, had been gone for a long time. In her place was a stranger who'd chosen to betray everything we'd built together. "So am I said, "but sorry doesn't change what happened." I walked out of the house and didn't look back. 2 weeks later, I was living in Jay's spare bedroom and learning that revenge was a lot more complicated than I'd anticipated. The initial satisfaction of exposing Marta's affair had given way to a grinding war of attrition fought through lawyers and social media posts and whispered conversations in grocery store aisles. The divorce papers had been filed. Marta had hired her own attorney, an expensive shark named Patricia Hawkins, who specialized in making cheating wives look like victims of emotional abuse. According to the initial response, I was controlling, manipulative, and had violated Marta's privacy in ways that constituted harassment. "It's all posturing," Sandra Martinez assured me during our weekly meeting. "She's trying to muddy the waters, make you look like the bad guy, but the evidence is on our side." The evidence kept growing. Tina Rodriguez had made good on her implied threat and reported the affair to HR. Both Marta and Ryan were suspended pending investigation. The hotel receipts and expense reports painted a clear picture of corporate fraud in addition to adultery. But Marta wasn't going down without a fight. "Have you seen this?" Claire asked, showing me her phone during one of our coffee meetings. It was a Facebook post from Marta, carefully crafted and devastating in its implications. "Going through a difficult time right now. It's hard when someone you trusted uses technology to violate your privacy and humiliate you publicly. I'm learning that some people will go to any lengths to control and punish those who try to find happiness. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with support. Your kindness means everything." The post had dozens of comments, most of them supportive. Friends and co-workers expressing sympathy for her situation, condemning the unnamed person who had violated her privacy. A few people had even shared articles about domestic abuse and emotional manipulation. "She's good," I admitted. "She's rewriting history," Claire said, "making herself the victim." "Maybe she is the victim. Maybe we both are." Claire studied my face. "You're having second thoughts." "I'm having all kinds of thoughts. Emma won't talk to me. Half our friends think I'm some kind of monster. Maybe I went too far. David, she was stealing from her company to fund an affair. She was lying to you for months, maybe years. She was planning to leave you and take half of everything you'd worked for. But did she deserve what I did to her? What did you do? Told the truth? Exposed her lies? I humiliated her in front of everyone she knew. She humiliated herself. You just made sure people could see it. Maybe Claire was right. Maybe I was letting Marta's manipulation get to me. But the doubt was there now, gnawing at me during the long nights in Jay's spare room. My phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. "Mr. Thompson? This is Ivy Chen, Ryan Mitchell's girlfriend. We need to talk." I stared at the message. Ryan's girlfriend? Not his wife, but his girlfriend? I texted back. "About what?" "About Ryan. About Marta. About things you need to know." An hour later, I was sitting in the same coffee shop where I'd met Tina, across from a woman I'd never seen before. Ivy Chen was younger than I'd expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and the kind of controlled composure that suggested she was used to handling difficult situations. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. "I have to admit, I'm confused. I thought Ryan was married." "He is, separated from his wife in California, but still married. She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I'm someone he's been seeing, while he was also seeing my wife." Yes. The implications hit me slowly. Ryan hadn't just been having an affair with Marta. He'd been juggling multiple relationships, lying to everyone involved. "How long have you known?" I asked. "About your wife? I suspected for a few months, but I didn't have proof until your party." "You were there?" "I was supposed to be. Ryan invited me, then uninvited me at the last minute. Said it was a work thing and I wouldn't be comfortable. She smiled grimly. Now I know why. What do you want from me? I want to compare notes. I want to figure out how deep this goes. She pulled out her own manila envelope. Ryan's been lying to all of us, but I think it's worse than either of us realized. The documents she showed me painted a picture of systematic deception that went far beyond simple adultery. Credit card statements showing charges at expensive restaurants and hotels on dates when Ryan claimed to be traveling alone. Receipts for jewelry that had never made it to Ivy. Evidence of other women, other relationships, other lies. He's not just a cheater, Ivy said. He's a predator. He uses his position at the company to manipulate women, makes them think they're special, then discards them when he gets bored. How many others? I've identified at least 3 in the past 2 years. There are probably more. I thought about Marta, sitting alone in our living room, telling me that Ryan wouldn't return her calls. She'd thought she was special, that their relationship meant something. Instead, she was just another conquest in his pattern of manipulation. What are you going to do with this information? I asked. I'm going to destroy him, Ivy said simply. The same way he destroyed us. How? The company investigation is just the beginning. I've been in touch with his wife in California, sharing information. I've also reached out to some of the other women he's been involved with. She leaned forward. David, we can take him down completely. His job, his reputation, his marriage, all of it. What do you need from me? Your recordings, the evidence you have of his relationship with Marta. It all fits into a larger pattern. I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me wanted to walk away, let the lawyers handle the divorce and move on with my life. But part of me was still angry, still hurt by the casual cruelty I'd seen in those text messages. Okay, I said. What's the plan? The plan, as it turned out, was comprehensive and devastating. Ivy had spent weeks gathering evidence, building a case that went far beyond a simple affair. She documented Ryan's pattern of behavior, his abuse of corporate resources, his manipulation of subordinates. But she needed more than documentation. She needed public exposure. There's going to be a company party next Friday, she said. Annual awards banquet. Ryan's supposed to receive some kind of recognition for his leadership. And I think it would be the perfect time to share what we've learned about his leadership style. I understood what she was suggesting. Another public humiliation, another moment of exposure and consequence. The same thing I'd done to Marta, but on a larger scale. I don't know, I said. Maybe we should just let the investigation run its course. The investigation will result in a quiet firing and a sealed settlement. Ryan will land on his feet somewhere else and keep doing what he's been doing. Ivy's voice hardened. I want him to face consequences. Real consequences. That night, I lay awake in Jay's spare room thinking about cycles of revenge and consequence. Marta had betrayed me, so I'd exposed her. Ryan had manipulated both of us, so now Ivy wanted to destroy him. Where did it end? My phone buzzed with a text message. From Emma. Dad, I've been thinking about everything that happened. Can we talk? The next morning, I drove to Emma's college campus for the first time since the party. She met me at a coffee shop near her dorm, looking older than her 20 years. I owe you an apology, she said without preamble. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I've been angry with you for weeks, thinking you were cruel and vindictive. But I've been talking to people, learning things about Mom that I didn't know. What kind of things? Trevor's mom works at Mom's company. She told Trevor about the investigation, about the evidence they found. Emma's voice was quiet. Dad, how long was this going on? Months. Maybe longer. And you knew? I suspected. I didn't have proof until I saw the text messages. Emma was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry I called you a monster. You were protecting your mother. I understand that. I was being naive. I wanted to believe that marriages just end sometimes, that people grow apart. I didn't want to believe that Mom could lie and cheat and betray you like that. People are complicated, Emma. Your mother isn't evil. She just made bad choices. Really bad choices. Emma looked up at me. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? I considered the question. Was I okay? I was living in my best friend's spare room, fighting a bitter divorce, and contemplating another act of public revenge. My daughter hadn't spoken to me in weeks. My wife had rewritten our entire relationship as a story of abuse and control, and I'd discovered that the capacity for cruelty I'd never known I possessed. I'm getting there, I said. Good. Because I need you to be okay. With Mom falling apart and everything else that's happening, I need at least one parent who has their act together. After lunch with Emma, I drove back to Jay's house with a clearer sense of what I needed to do. The revenge felt good in the moment, but it wasn't healing anything. It wasn't making me whole again or fixing what had been broken. I called Ivy Chen. I'm out, I said when she answered. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not going to help you destroy Ryan at the company party. I'm done with revenge. David, this is bigger than just revenge. This is about justice, about making sure he faces consequences for what he's done. Then let the investigation handle it. Let his wife handle it. Let the legal system handle it. I took a deep breath. I'm done being angry. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I understand, Ivy said finally, but I'm not done. He destroyed my life, and I'm going to return the favor. That's your choice. But I won't be part of it. After I hung up, I sat in Jay's driveway for a long time, thinking about choices and consequences, and the difference between justice and revenge. Marta had made her choices, and she was facing the consequences. Ryan would face his own consequences, with or without my help. But I had my own choices to make. I could keep fighting, keep seeking revenge, keep trying to punish everyone who had hurt me. Or I could focus on rebuilding, on healing, on figuring out what came next. For the first time in weeks, the choice felt clear. I was done being the villain in someone else's story. It was time to start writing my own. The divorce would proceed. The investigation would run its course. Marta and Ryan would face whatever consequences their actions had earned them. But I was finished with revenge. It was time to figure out how to live again.